I'm just setting up here for a moment. So I'm Elias Ahonen, and I am speaking today about categorizing DAOs and unveiling their jurisdictional complexities. I will get right to it. So a little bit of an introduction. I've been in the blockchain crypto industry, however you want to term it, for maybe 12 years now, since 2013. And I've done a lot of different things, whether it's consulting companies, whether it's ICOs back in the day. But currently I'm a PhD researcher at the Faculty of Law at the University of Turku in Finland, along with my colleague Jari here, who will be presenting after me. And my background academically is in law. I did my master's there. And my PhD research question now is around blockchain as a unique area of international law. That being the idea that the metaverse of the blockchain industry functions something like international waters or even outer space when we look at it from an international jurisdictional perspective. So practically, I'm also in the DAO industry space. I'm a special council member for the Horizon DAO, which has a small presence here at Denver. I work with regulatory stuff in Europe with an exchange, Roku, and I've written for Cointelegraph for quite a while, along with these two books, and I'm happy to talk more about them later. Anyway, the research project Jari and myself are part of is called CIDS, Critical Inquiry into Decentralized Autonomous Organizations Working for Sustainability. This is quite a special research project, not just within Finland, but within EU generally, because we have quite a significant amount of government funding for a 4-year term to do research looking into the function of DAOs. Now, this is not the average research that we talk here for the most part about, because it's more on the social sciences side. Myself with law, some others on entrepreneurship, others looking at it from a sustainability, ecological perspective. So with CIDS, we're looking at explaining DAOs, deconstructing them, and looking at how DAOs can actually function on the institutional level, how public institutions, governments, even multinational organizations like the European Union could perhaps integrate with, collaborate with DAOs. And one big problem there is that if we look at institutions, they speak a very different language than perhaps we do here at ETH Denver. And these two camps don't easily understand each other. They operate on different levels fundamentally, whether it's on the blockchain level or whether it's on the international law level and so on. So we're looking at these big questions from fairly creative perspectives. And with that, I will start with my perspective, which is a classification framework for DAOs from a jurisdictional perspective. One thing that we often see, not just here, but generally in the blockchain space, everyone's talking about a DAO. DAO this, DAO that. And sometimes the people even talking about DAOs don't necessarily agree what DAOs are. Okay, they're a collaborative organization, they're related to blockchain somehow. You know, it's a bit of a buzzword at times. And I wanted to ask the question that are DAOs a uniform concept legally, or is it actually a collection of ideas that exists on a range? So from a method perspective, I created an idea of what a DAO should be on the perspective of looking at historical examples of the DAO, the first DAO that was created, also ideologies related to cypherpunks and such, from where this concept came from, where blockchain originated from. And then I took a sample of the top 10 DAOs by market cap, representing a majority of the observable DAO capitalization in the market today, and did an analysis of the jurisdictional aspects of these. Are these actually functioning on the blockchain only, or are they actually corporations pretending to be on the blockchain, or are they on the blockchain but also functioning as corporations, and where? And then did a comparative analysis. And of course, this is a somewhat simplistic look. You know, it can be difficult to draw these lines and distinctions, but fundamentally, I mean, we can look at the word DAO. DAO, Decentralized Autonomous Organization. Each of those stands for a concept. And if you're claiming that you are a DAO, you are more or less claiming that you fit into these three categories in some way. Nomen is omen. So when we look at the actual use cases or practice of DAOs, we can actually, though, say that that's not always the case. And some DAOs are far more decentralized than others. Some are far more autonomous than others from the perspective of human intervention, or whether it's blockchain governance, for example. And we can look at it from the organization level. Are they actually being organized on-chain, or is on-chain kind of an afterthought, and you just have a corporate board meeting that's being put on the chain afterwards? So with this framework, I created three categories. The first being native DAOs, being a idealized DAO that we can imagine as a unicorn almost. The DAO certainly aspired to this. The cypherpunks would have liked to create something like this. And this is fundamentally an organization on the blockchain that has no tethers to the analog world. They do not operate corporations. They do not necessarily have a leader. They do not, you can't say which country they're based in. You might not even know who funded it. I mean, no one knows who Satoshi is, for example. These kinds of ideas. And if there is a jurisdiction, it would perhaps be identified as individuals. And that's actually a big danger. We've had some DAOs be labeled as partnerships by courts and had even shareholders, or I should say token holders, or major leadership figures been basically said to be leaders of a partnership and become liable for various actions, whether criminally or otherwise. The hybrid model is then one where there's a legal wrapper, and then the nominal one is where there's not just a legal wrapper, but a corporation in general running things. Very quickly, here's a range showing the legal, both blockchain. The core question being, does this organization exist on paper or on the blockchain? The findings were that the hybrid model is by far the dominant model. 9 out of 10 DAOs are in the top 10, representing the majority of the market, clearly had what we call legal wrappers. These being things like corporations or nonprofit foundations that are more or less assisting the DAO, allowing it to do various functions in the legal space, whether it's having bank accounts, whether it's making contracts with normal staff, because not all staff that are providing services are willing to work on a blockchain-only mode and receive stable coins or something like that. Sometimes you need actual fiat currency. So those three findings, hybrid model, native models are mostly theoretical, not so practical, and legal wrappers are more or less necessary to operate DAOs today. A little bit about legal wrappers. These again being systems by which DAOs can work within the analog world. For example, if a DAO was organizing this event, someone would have to be renting and making an agreement with the organization that owns the stadium. There would have to be contracts. Someone has to be liable. Cloud operating in the blockchain with no identifiable individuals simply cannot easily function. It's like a dream. So this can take the form of limited liability companies, foundations, cooperatives, unincorporated associations, and it looks like that's by far the direction we're going to. Again, this might be more or less obvious to a lot of people in the industry, but if we're telling this to lawmakers, corporate lawyers, this is bringing a whole new idea to the idea of what is a DAO, because they have this idea of it being an alien-like organization that's not in touch with reality, so to say. Here's just a picture. I wrote an article on Cointelegraph about the legal dangers of DAOs, and that is what happens when you don't follow the law. The ego will take you away from the DAO. And there's my contact details. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Elias. Fantastic presentation.